Welcome inside the Lethbridge Hurricanes dressing room following the 24-25 season. We're with the head coach of the Lethbridge Hurricanes, Bill Peters. And Bill, maybe let's talk about the season that was. The 24-25 season had its ups and downs, but a lot of ups, especially at the end, going on a long playoff run. So I know it's been a few days since it happened, so how do you reflect on the season as a whole?
Well, you know, there's a lot of positives, obviously. Everyone, when it ends, you're going 1,000 mile an hour, and all of a sudden it ends, you go right to zero. So it's always a shock to the system, and it takes a while to get over it, and there's a certain taste that's left behind that you don't like. But at the end of the day, there's only going to be one team truly happy when it's all said and done. So there's a lot of positives, a lot of individual growth, a lot of collective growth amongst the team, and something to build on moving forward for sure.
Coaches always look to the start of the season and use training camp as a springboard into the year, and there was a lot of uncertainty about where the Hurricanes would be in terms of hosting or not hosting the Memorial Cup, and when that went down and didn't get it, the position changed to let's go for it this year. So how did you see the growth through the first half of the season and then the second half into the postseason?
Yeah, well, the growth is it's not linear, as you know. It just comes and then there's little plateaus, and then there's continued growth. So some of the young guys continued to improve throughout the year and did a fantastic job and contributed valuable minutes right through to the end in the playoffs. So the growth there was unbelievable. The growth in the goaltending was unreal. You look at Cleves, you know, going 8-4. I think he 8-4-0 coming down the stretch, and his game really took off in the second half. And Carson Adair, you know, his ability to play and just settle in and be a big part of a PK unit that finished first in the Western Hockey League in the regular season. So, you know, there's other players, but those two stick out for me right now as we sit and talk today. And then the roster changed, right? And then you know, then you get an influx of players, and then they get settled in, and then away you go. And then we had guys go to the World Junior, and then guys come back, and so there was a little bit of a transition period there, but at the end it all came together.
Went 3 rounds in the WHL playoffs, beat Brandon in the first round, a 7-game series against Calgary before coming up short against the Medicine Hat Tigers. So when you reflect on the playoff run, 1, how much fun was it? And 2, what did it mean to be a part of it in Lethbridge?
Well, it's exciting. Lethbridge is it's been a great city to me and my family. My son was born here back in 2004, so I think it's a great city. I think there's so much value in the city of Lethbridge. The people, you know, the hockey fans, our building's rocking, right? You get 5,000 plus, 4,500 in here, and it's an unbelievable environment. They're an intelligent fan base. It's a very supportive fan base, and they make a difference. So huge advantage moving forward for this organization. A well-run team, obviously, that's received well in the community. A lot of front office stuff gets done by the people upstairs that do a fantastic job and have a lot of pride in the logo.
You were a part of the hockey staff and a great hockey staff. Maybe talk about what it meant to work with them and their growth over 2 years, and especially this season, and the guys that you were able to work with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, you know, I'm fortunate, right? Real good. We won Game 7, and a guy came down, a buddy of mine came down, oh, show me a good goalie, and I'll show you a good coach. And we had a good chuckle and introduced him to the staff, and he knew who they were. And it's just a good staff, right? Maddie's been here 7 years now, Azer I think 4, and then you look at the supports, and Broden Salmon came in when I came in. There was a goalie coach change there, and look at the work that he's done, and then look at the young goalies in the system coming up. It's exciting how many good young goalies there are and the stuff that he's been able to do with them. And then I think he's a big part of Cleve, you know, going from 4-8 to 8-4 in the second half. And then you know, Ungi was unbelievable for us, how good he was, especially you know, coming down the stretch and in the playoffs. And then you look at Trevor Hardy's been here a long time, been through a lot of players, and if you want to put the work in, Trevor will make you better. And then Charlie Mattersdorfer as the skills coach does fantastic work, and that's a huge advantage to have those guys in the city available, basically you know, at a beck and call, and we use them a lot. And then you look at the continuity in the support staff, and Whitey and Marty, they're going on a decade. I think they've been here 8 or 9 years each. And it's a good place to live, and it's a good place to work. So that's why they're here, and I think that's what allows the organization to be consistently strong.
Consistently strong. You talk about the strength of the organization. You have been in pro hockey a long time. You've coached in the Western League with the Spokane Chiefs for a long time. How do you see this organization compare and maybe not compare to other organizations you've been a part of?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll just compare the 2 Western Hockey League teams. I've only worked for 2, one privately owned in Spokane and then a community-owned team here in Lethbridge, and they're both first-class organizations that have had a lot of success. The thing I like, neither organization cuts a corner. players need something to be successful, it's provided, right? They both understand the difference between a want and a need. When you need something, it's provided for you. If there's a way to improve travel or some nutrition, then it's done. So great place to play, both places. A lot of similarities, really good fan bases. And I've been fortunate. I've worked in some really good situations, and this is one of them.
You, of course, won a championship with Spokane. Didn't get to do that here, but what did it mean to be able to come back to Lethbridge? You, of course, mentioned earlier your son was born here when you were coaching for the University of Lethbridge. So to come full circle in kind of a way, what did it mean to Bill Peters? Well,
it's special, right? I got to be here. I got to be here around my family in Alberta and see my son playing in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. When the schedules worked, I was able to see him play in the southern part of the AJHL and the South Division a little bit, and that's rewarding. And those are things you'll never get a chance to do again, probably. So to be able to take advantage of that opportunity was huge for me.
Mentioned the time in Spokane in the early 2000s and late 2000s, and then coming back to the Western League in the mid-2020s. How have you seen the growth of the Western League as a whole over that time and the time between?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's been an unbelievable league for a long period of time, and it's going to continue to be really strong just because there's so many strong markets that have such an entrenched foothold in Western Canada. So, we've seen a change in the commissioner here when he's got new ideas and fresh ideas. You see a change in the landscape with the NCAA ruling and the Canadian Hockey League. So everything continues to always constantly evolve, but the Western Hockey League and the CHL in general are right there as far as staying ahead of the game, providing an unbelievable development opportunity for players. And the players now have unbelievable skill sets, right? And that's why you see so much skill throughout the lineup, 1 through 18 every night. There's skilled guys on all 4 lines, 3 sets of D, and it's the league's in great shape. The league's in unbelievable shape, and now you got an expansion going into Penticton, possibly a further one. And as the NHL continues to expand, which it will moving forward, the Western League continues to expand. The NCAA will continue to expand with teams in the Pac-10. It's an exciting time to be a part of hockey.
How have you seen, that's the growth on the league side, how have you seen the growth of the player and going from coaching pros to going back to junior players? How have you seen the development of that level between the two time frames?
Yeah, well, you know what? The people in minor hockey got to get a little credit. They've done a fantastic job. These kids come in, and where'd they get this skill set? They have an unbelievable skill set before they ever get to junior, before they ever get to the American League, before they ever get to the National League. And it's important to have young players come in and contribute right away now, more so than ever in all 3 leagues. So credit to everybody involved in the game and just continuing to make players better. And then, once they get here, then it's up to them to focus on what they're doing and look after their business and continue to work. There's good players all over the league. You look in the National Hockey League for the Hart Trophy, you got 3 different countries represented, and not one of them's Canada. So if you don't know what's going on globally or around the world, then you're falling behind.
It might be called burying the lead, but after 2 seasons, you won't come back as the head coach of the Lethbridge Hurricanes with your contract expiring. So maybe talk about the decision made to not come back to the Hurricanes and what the last 2 years have meant to you, and maybe what's next.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank the board of directors and Peter Anno for giving me the opportunity to come up here and spend these last 2 years. They've been fantastic. I've enjoyed every day, and it's time to look at some different challenges, whether that's in private business or whether that's overseas, or maybe just go back and put your feet up a little bit and enjoy your family. So it's the right time. It's the right time to turn it over to somebody new, whoever they elect to pass it on to. It'll be in more than capable hands, and like when I took over, they talked about leave the jersey in a better place. I think we're doing that. I think the culture down here in southern Alberta is very strong. I think the hockey is unbelievable. The hockey you're going to see going into the Western Hockey League final, and what you've seen in the Central Division this year speaks for itself. So I think the game's in real good shape.
You mentioned the leave the jersey in a better place. In 2 years, what do you, reflect on as being your biggest impact and what you hope to leave behind as you move on?
Well, you know what? You look at where it changed. We have a social content creator now. and he's increased our profile of the organization, and all of a sudden now you got more people coming in through the turnstiles. Now you're putting on an unbelievable product. You have your resources, your financial resources, your human resources, and it all goes back into making the players better. Just the decision making on talking about how you travel, your itineraries, how you look after things. There are probably things that were a little different than they've been done in the past, and they'll be different next year too. Everyone's got their own little spin they want to put on it, so you take the good and continue to build on that, and if things you don't like, then park those, put those in the rearview mirror, and just continue to make your organization and your program better.
I know you're a man that likes to learn. And learn new things every day. So in the 2 years in Lethbridge, what were you able to learn, and how were you able to grow?
Well, it's fun now for me. I've got resources all over the world, basically through hockey, the different leagues I've coached in, and people are always reaching out, whether it's NHL teams talking about potential draft picks on your team, NHL teams talking about their actual draft picks that you have on your team. You have the pro guys coming through. You have your buddies that are still coaching, whether they're coaching in the National League over in Europe or in the American League, and they want to talk about things. We've got a young staff here that's very hungry, so they're always looking at things from their lens, right? And then you just kind of talk it out, and you come up with some ideas, and the game is always changing, right? And you got to change with it, and you got to be a lifelong learner, which most people in sport are, and that's what's exciting about it. And now we're in an exciting time in the NHL playoffs, round 1 wrapping up, going into round 2, and it's just an unbelievable opportunity to watch high-end hockey.
I guess the last thought, the relationships that you've been able to build over the 2 years within the organization, outside the organization, how have those impacted you, and how have those shaped Bill Peters moving forward?
Well, it's different when you come back after X amount of years, right? It's been a long time, and you reconnect with old friends, and you see them on a more consistent basis. And Peter Anhold and I have coached against each other. Now we've worked together. He's a guy who's got the best interest of the Lethbridge Hurricanes in mind, and also the Western Hockey League in mind, and the sport in general. So a pleasure to work with him and learn from him, and just be in a situation where you're always trying to get better with a common goal of trying to put the best product you can on the ice in order to win.
I mean, we could go on forever, but I think that's a good spot to finish it in terms of relationship and learning. And I can say from myself, and I imagine a lot of people around the organization, it was a pleasure to be around you for the last 2 years and learn from you. And we'll miss the stories, but we hope that there's a lot more on the forefront for you as you move forward professionally and personally.
Appreciate that, Dustin.
Bill Peters, the outgoing head coach of the Lethbridge Hurricanes after the last 2 seasons. It was great to have you around, my friend.
Okay, thank you.